Chapter 13. The only thing I want you to know right now, and I mentioned this last class, so I have been repeating myself, partly because people have been missing class and been here or absent at different times. So if you've been here every time, hopefully you feel like you're the beneficiary of being able to know things really well. But that's why I've been repeating myself. And the key piece we really haven't much time to talk about so far, we haven't had it, is the equation of exchange and the simple quantity theory of money. All abbreviated. Equation of exchange and the simple quantity theory of money. Equation of exchange, if you remember from the readings, as well as our discussion last class. MV must equal PQ. M is the money supply, V is velocity, P is the price level, and Q is real GDP, or output. Now, a way of thinking about this is that the money out there, the money supply times velocity. Velocity is how frequently a dollar on average is spent, right? And if you're looking at not an average dollar, but a dollar owned by Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, that money doesn't have much velocity, doesn't get spent. Almost never gets spent. He hates to spend money. He likes to make it, doesn't really like to spend it. But if you look at the entire economy, any economy that has money, right, it has a marketplace, then hopefully this makes sense. The money that's out there, as it gets spent, should equal the value of all the stuff it gets spent on, right? You can think of this side as the SRAS. No, I don't want to do that. This is the side of expenditures. This is the side of sales. But they're the same thing. One person buying something happens as a result of somebody else selling it to them, right? Now let's have real basic numbers, right? Let's say that the money supply is 20 bucks. This might actually be an example in your book, all right? And the velocity is 1. Somebody wants to spend $20 on a textbook. That should equal the price of that textbook, if it's 20 bucks, times the quantity of textbooks that are being sold, which is 1. Yes?
Is Q the quantity or the GDP?
Same thing. Because we're talking about an entire economy. This, I'm just giving you, so this is the quantity of real GDP.
Is it also output?
Yep. There are different synonyms that apply to Q, correct? All right, think about output. What are they putting out there? They're putting out GDP. Products and services produced in a year, in a country, right? Yes?
How do they measure velocity?
That's a good question. They deduce it. Your book talks about this. You don't have to know this for me for the upcoming test. What they'll do is they'll say, what's the price level, right? What's the quantity of GDP? Great. Figure out the right side and divide by what we know the money supply to be, and then they kind of infer what velocity is.
But it's not like you can just then go.
You could, but we don't have a government agency that's designed to measure velocity like they do prices. That's a good question. That'd be fun. Kind of like track money as it goes from place to place. Maybe put like a homing device there, right? Every time it goes from one person's hands to another, maybe we track it. We're not at that point. Chances are people will be a little freaked out by that kind of technology anyway. What's that? Yeah, people can do it as a fun activity on a limited basis. But broadly, to be able to try to quantify it for the entire economy, we don't really have a place in a process in place for that. All right, so hopefully this makes sense. Now, this is a theory that's been in existence for a very long time, decades and decades, And in the late 1800s, people said, all right, so if this is true, the equation of exchange, that expenditures should equal sales, must equal sales, MV must equal PQ, perhaps we can take it a step further, because if you start thinking about MV and PQ, most people would agree that velocity in the short term is constant. And in the short term, output is constant. The quantity of real GDP. I've got an app on my phone, and there's places, of course, you can look online without using apps, that says, as of now, what's the unemployment rate? As of now, what's GDP? And these things. But it's not updated other than monthly, sometimes annually, right? Speaking of which, what's the unemployment rate? 8.8. Is that Victor that said that? Nice. You just picked it. He listens to the news. Came out last week, 8.8. So we went down another 10 of a percentage points. Can't say we're in good times, but we do have a little bit of a downward trend on unemployment right now. Okay? All right. So if most people agree, at least the theorists behind this agree, that velocity and output in the short term are constant, they don't change much, then these two things become kind of tied on a string. If the money supply increases, then you should see an increase in the price level. If money supply decreases, you should also see a decrease in the price level. Or in other words, here's AD. If you increase the money supply, perhaps using the central bank, you could see this happen. One of the reasons they use monetary policy to try to address the economy. But I'm not going to get into detail about that because I want to just give you at least a few minutes before the counselors come to take a look at these tests. Who has not seen one of the tests so far in 2005? Right. Peek real quick.
Let's do 4.
You two share. One for you. All right, we don't have time to use whiteboards today. What's going to happen is I'm going to mention a question. You're going to go to that question and try to answer it, but you're going to hold up your fingers to show what you think the answer is. So this is A, B, C, D, and E. Yes, you guys are so smart.
We're a man down. So just share.
Share. Yeah, I just said. All right, everybody. We might do a repeat or two because not everybody has had a chance to see these. So let's do number 30. Please do number 30. We have some votes for E so far. Any other? We have a vote for B.
Whoa.
You have 1 minute and 10 seconds on average to do a multiple choice question on test day. The answer is E. Good work. Woo! 80% of the country got that wrong.
What?
In 2005. All right. Do number 20. Number 20 is E. 70% got right. All right, let's do number 11. another type of security, correct?
Yeah.
That you would purchase in an open market operation. All right, the answer is oh, they're little, sorry. The answer is A. That was 58%. Got that right. In 2000. All right, let's go further than any man or woman has gone before. How about 54? Do number 54. 50% of the country got this right. 88% of the people that got 5 got it right. 23% of the ones got it right.
Yeah.
The answer is D. Good. The answer is D. All right, next. Any questions? About 54? Why it's D? They're going to reduce inflation, right? They're going to shrink an inflationary gap. They have to do the opposite of what we talked about on the quiz today, right? So they don't increase the money supply, they decrease the money supply. And then the whole chain reaction proceeds from there. So if we know the entire chain reaction well, right, any piece of that they ask you about would potentially be an option. If it's tax rates, does that have anything to do with monetary supply? Monetary policy? No. All right, that's fiscal. Same thing with C, government spending. So right away you're like A and C, irrelevant. All right. Let's do 51. Which of the following, increasing which of the following will lead to lower inflation and lower unemployment? Of the country got this right. Actually, 47%. Anybody think it's not C? You're not wrong. Because it's not C. Oh wait, sorry, wrong one. It is C. When you roll it. Nice work.
Oh, it's increasing that one.
Ooh, 58, just talked about it.
What number?
58. All right. 46% got this right. All right. Looks like we have a whole bunch of E's. And the answer was E. Good work. Really? Easy? 56. Another 50%. We have answers, votes. We have a vote for B. A vote for C. A couple more votes for B. This one's a little tricky. All right, they don't ask this, but you need to know this to answer the question. What's the maximum possible increase in the money supply? 1 over 0.2 times a million. So that's 5 million, correct? But if some of the banks keep some of their excess reserves, just like cash leakage, that's going to reduce the impact, correct? So that's why for 56 the answer is B.
Yes.
The answer is B. All right. How about 48? CPI question, 48. Might have to scratch out a little math here, right? This is a question that says, what is the percentage increase of the CPI from one year to the next? So to do the market basket, you got to do 5 times 6 plus 2 times 7 plus 3 times 12. Take that number, right, and divide it into the more recent year. 5 times 5, 2 times 9, 3 times 19. See what the percentage increase is. This is basic math. Percentage increase in the number of field goals Matt makes from one year to the next. Remember, the percentage decrease in Zach's golf handicap from one year to the next. It's the same kind of math, right? So the answer is E.
Yes.
42% of the country got that right in 2005.
Yeah.
It's a majority distance. All right, pass your test to the left, please.
Yeah, it remains the same.